latest updates from the trustworthy resources and news agency, and starting with Egyptian Al-Ahram Online, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the chief executive officer of the Italian company Eni and praised the existing partnership with the Italian oil company and the wide range of activities it is carrying out in Egypt. Tuesday's meeting in Al-Alamein was attended by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Karim Badawi. The head of state expressed keen interest to continue the partnership and increase Eni's investments in Egypt, which would strengthen Egypt's role as a regional gas hub and strengthening the relationship between Egypt and Italy as well. President al-Sisi stressed that Egypt would continue to provide Eni with the necessary facilities to remove any obstacles facing its operations in the country. Eni's CEO emphasized his company's commitment to strengthening its role as the largest energy company operating in the Egyptian markets. And for now, we'll be moving on to our second resource from the Egyptian Gazette, where Egypt condemned an attack on the United Nations patrol that killed 2 UN peacekeepers in the region and injured 7 other people in South Sudan's Jonglei state. So the reference states in a statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of Expertise and Egyptians on Tuesday said that Egypt rejects all acts that target peacekeepers and UN personnel. And I'm going to cut this reference short regarding the violence taking place in Sudan, where I'll be welcoming our dearest guest, Dr. Mohammad Ezaby, International Affairs and Relations expert. Good morning, Dr. Mohammad. How are you?
Hi.
Yes, I would like to hammer on our first reference that was primarily stated from Al-Ahram Online, where we stated previously about President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Chief Executive Officer of the Italian company Eni regarding the latest updates that are taking place in Egypt. And I would like to hammer on that point regarding how does expanding these partnerships with key players in the region like Eni strengthen Egypt's position as a regional energy hub. Dr. Mohammed, please do incite us regarding this matter.
Well, Egyptian President, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held meeting in Al-Alamein with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Petroleum Minister Karim Badawi, and Eni CEO Claudio Ezaby to review crude oil and natural gas production across Egypt. Discussions covered the strategic petroleum products reserves, market stability, incentive for partners to expand exploration and post output, and tuning sector goals into measurable programs. Badawi outlined the 5 years production plan, effort to double oil and condensate output, new wells through December 2026, refining upgrades, 6 projects exceeded $4 billion, and Egypt's role as a regional gas hub highlighted by the Eni Total Energies final investment decision on Cyprus Kronos field linked to Egypt's infrastructure, with Eni talks focused on intensified drilling in the Mediterranean and Western deserts using seismic survey and AI plans for 30 exploration and 200 development wells. And in his $8.5 billion cumulative investment. His Excellency President Sisi praised the partnership and pledged facilitation. Ezaby reaffirmed in its commitment as Egypt's largest energy operator. The meeting signals Egypt's push to reverse production declines, attract foreign investment after setting arrears, and consolidate its position as a Mediterranean energy trading and liquefaction hub aimed regional cooperation.
Yes, that is pretty understandable, Dr. Mohammad. Thank you so much. And on that matter, I would like to move on to the second reference from Egyptian Gazette, where it was claimed that Egypt condemned an attack on a UN patrol that killed 2 UN peacekeepers and injured 7 other people in South Sudan's Jonglei state. And that statement by Foreign Minister and Affairs Badr Abdel Ati stating that Egypt rejects all violent acts that target peacekeepers and UN personnel, adding that their safety and security should be guaranteed in order to enable them to fulfill their missions. So earlier it was stated that among the injured on a Monday attack, that 3 UN peacekeepers were attacked, and it appears that they were deliberately targeted indeed. So in light of the ongoing situation in Sudan that took place earlier, Dr. Mohammad, I would like to ask you, what would be the needed diplomatic steps to safeguard the peacekeepers in the Horn of Africa, given the past situation that took place in Sudan and the history that already took place, because this was not the first time?
Well, Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly denounced an armed attack on a United Nations missions in South Sudan. Patrols that caused casualties among peacekeepers, national policies, and civilians. Cairo rejects all violence targeting UN personnel, stress the need to ensure their safety so they can fulfill their mandate, and called for perpetrators to be held accountable. Egypt offered condolence to victims' families, and the UN wished the injured a speedy recovery and reiterated support for security, stability, and peace efforts in the South Sudan. This is a standard diplomatic statement consistent with Egypt's long-standing supporting foreign and peacekeeping and regional stability in the Horn of Africa. Sudan fear it doesn't introduce new policy, but reinforce Cairo's rejection of attacks on international borders.
Yes, indeed, Dr. Mohammad, and I would like to move to our third reference from Al-Ahram online as well, because several news organizations released a statement Tuesday calling for Israel to provide a full explanation of an Israeli attack that took place and killed 22 people, Palestinians indeed, including journalists, and they rescued workers in hospital in the Gaza Strip. So thank you for your insights. And moving on to Al-Sharq Al-Awsat newspaper, a senior Iraqi official said that the Iraqi government stands by its commitment to bring all non-state armed factions in the country under law and order. So the security advisor to the Prime Minister, Qasim Al-Araji, said that September 30 is the date for the US-led international coalition to deport, following that all armed factions in the country are required to hand over weapons. Since taking office in May, Prime Minister Ali Al-Zaidi has pledged to ensure the armed factions that emerged in the years that followed the U.S. invasion hand over their weapons to the state, while some factions have in recent weeks said they join state institutions and others are refusing, where Saudi Arabia has accused armed groups in Iraq of launching attacks against it. So how are these actions affecting indeed the Iraqis, and given that the armed factions in the country under law and order are claiming the below? So Dr. Mohammad Al-Ezaby, do you please incite us regarding this matter, regarding the ongoing question in Iraq?
Well, Iraq's coordination framework discussed the arrest of Popular Mobilization Forces members and commanders aimed to the government driving to bring all weapons under state monopoly. Leaders objected to use the force rather than formal judicial summons. The PMF later described a misunderstanding as resolved with cases transferred to its own security service for court proceedings. Parallel developments include Iranian official Supreme National Security Council Secretary Mohsen Ridai meeting Iraqi top judge Said Zidane, recent visit by parliamentary speakers Mohammad Qalibat emphasized a strong independent Iraq, border security and the resolution of Iranian opposition groups in Kurdistan, while Baghdad reaffirmed its security agreement with Tehran. The episode highlights the sensitive balancing act of Prime Minister Ali Saleh Al-Zaidi government assisting state control over armed factions under domestic and U.S. pressure, while managing the political security and the Iranian ties that the factions enjoy. Progress on the weapons plan remains a key test of state authority.
Yes, Dr. Mohammad, thank you on that point. And from the New York Times, we got our reference stating that Canada on Tuesday announced counter tariffs on U.S. goods ranging between 15 and 50%, intensifying the trade war between the historically close allies, geographically and politically as well. So Ottawa's retaliation will take effect September 8, and the time frame earlier outlined by Prime Minister Mark Carney after U.S. President Donald Trump's 50% duties came into place this Saturday. So Canada's finance minister said that the retaliatory tariffs match U.S. levels and impact industries including steel, dairy and electronics as well. So the list includes frozen and fresh fish and consumer goods like dishwashers and washing machines, as well as industrial products including railway construction material. And Trump's latest tariffs came after trade negotiations collapsed at the 11th hour. So given that the United States is Canada's biggest trading partner and Canadian exports to its neighbor 70% of its overall total. So Dr. Mohammad Al-Ezaby, Canada is the biggest U.S. trading partner in goods this year behind Mexico, and in light of the ongoing situation from the United States and the declarations stated by President Donald Trump, Dr. Mohammad, how are the primary supply chains affecting the trade escalation between the United States and Canada?
The measures matches the scale and rates recent U.S. 50% tariff imposed by the Trump administration on Canadian exports. After trade talks collapsed, tariffs includes steel and aluminum raised to 50%, furniture, clothing, apparel, dairy, cheese, seafood, appliance, cosmetics, food, pulp, paper, products, electronic tools, and various consumers industrial items. Canada also unveiled a $7.5 billion support package for affected workers and business, loans, financing, employment insurance, flexibility. Official framed the response as cooperative, strategic, and protective of Canadian industrial rather than revenue raising. This marks a future escalation in the U.S.-Canada trade conflict, which has already strained deeply integrated North American economy and testing relations under the USMCA framework.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammad Ezaby, our international relations expert, for your fruitful insights on our morning press insights. Thank you so much for joining us today. And marks the end of our daily press insights, where we have got the most of trustworthy references, both local and international, to you this morning. Thank you so much for staying with us, and do stay with us for the upcoming segments. I'm Hania Shinawi.